It's Jordan Mulligan from the Mulliganbrothers, and today's interview highlight is with Amy Morin, author of the book 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. And such an incredible person, such an incredible author, and this video is talking about dealing with grief, which she has a huge experience with. It's something that I unfortunately myself have had an experience with as well throughout my life, and it's something that Amy's book and what Amy has spoke about was hugely a key part of me getting through my grief recently. It's been incredible. The first time I spoke to Amy was about my grief. And if you go back and listen to the first interview, a lot of it is about that. Today's video is sponsored by audible.com because they are given an opportunity to get a free book, and which is Amy's book down below, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. The link will take you through to there, and you can get that book for free on audible.com using the link down below. And they help make this possible. And also Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can buy the Inspired Change t-shirts. Supporting us on there helps make this possible. And I can't thank you guys enough for that support. Please also comment, like, subscribe, all those good things, just to get this on the algorithm, get more people seeing it. Yeah, let's jump into the video. So I found for myself, and I know a lot of people find this, that when going through grief, sometimes it's just easier to avoid it, bury it, not deal with it per se. Yeah, completely avoid the situation and just sort of put it to the back of the mind and carry on working hard and carrying on with life. What is the importance of taking a look at it and saying, right, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to deal with how I really feel about it, look into how I feel sad about it. Is there an importance, or could we just get away with avoiding it our whole lives?
Yeah, grief is a process by which we heal, but suppressing it does work in the short term. When we shove it down, ignore it, pretend like, okay, that part of my life doesn't exist, or pretend it never happened, usually gets us through for a little while. But then it crops up in sometimes unexpected ways. People get physically ill, people struggle with their relationships, and maybe they don't know why, or they start having problems at work about something completely unrelated, but it's really not unrelated. It is related to this sadness that you've just pretended wasn't there. So it's super important to make sure that we take care of it. Our emotional wounds are like our physical wounds, where you want to address it, but it is easier to ignore it in the short term, or to pretend like nothing bothers you, or that something's not going on. But it does come back to haunt us. And I think the more that we suppress it or pretend it's not there, the more it actually controls us, which is the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to break free, but until you address it, you don't actually break free.
Throughout a lot of your work, you talk about having awareness and having awareness when going through grief. And for me, when you're burying it, you don't have a lot of awareness. And I realize awareness is so important. But somebody who is asking the question about awareness probably is having a lot of introspective looks. But somebody who's avoiding the situation, they are not reaching a place of awareness. They're probably never going to reach a place of awareness. Like, what is the importance, and how does somebody reach that point where they start to look inside and introspectively?
Sometimes that's where therapy comes in, to have an objective person who doesn't know you in your personal life, to be able to say, actually, this is what I see. You're telling me this, but I see something different. Sometimes journaling helps. When people will start writing in a journal, they'll see over the course of a few weeks specific patterns about how they think or how they act, or they'll suddenly start to realize, you know, all these people in my life that treat me a certain way, what's the common denominator? Maybe it's me. So there are ways that we can raise our own awareness, but it's tough to do because, again, our brains see ourselves in a certain way. We see the world through our specific lens, and other people might see it differently. Sometimes you need feedback from other people.
So journaling has been a massive thing for myself. So I will take my journal and write down how I feel, how I thought for the day, if something made me emotional, if something came to my mind that I've remembered. It's been a huge part of my processing and has been really helpful. And sometimes it can seem quite daunting to get into journaling. Is there a way that people can simply get into journaling and start with journaling?
Now, that's a question people ask me a lot, because they'll look at a blank piece of paper and they're like, I don't know what to write down. I don't know how to get started. So sometimes people find it helpful to have a prompt, just a journal that maybe at the top of the page asks you something every day. Sometimes people find it helpful to just write down 3 things they're grateful for. Well, there are lots of different journals out there. I think whatever you find to be something that you'll stick to is important. Journaling doesn't necessarily have to be fun. Sometimes it's painful, it's hard to do, it's difficult, but if you stick to it, as you say, you notice patterns over time. So, and one thing you don't want to do is to just keep rehashing things in your journal over and over again, because just like it sometimes stays stuck in our brain, sometimes we just keep replaying awful things in our journals over and over, and that's not helpful. So you might write about what you learned from a bad experience, you might write about what you were thinking, what you were feeling, but then also where do you go from here? How do you make things better going down the road? It might be something that you can't control, but what can you control is always yourself. So then how do you, moving forward, what are you going to do differently?
If you're in therapy and you're in that part where you are replaying, like you just said, you're stuck in a cycle, how does somebody break out of that?
And normally I find when people get really stuck, it's often because we're trying to control things that we can't control. So whether it's that somebody says, I wish my partner would act differently, and they come in to complain about their partner every week, but their partner's not here, it's them who's here. So we talk about how do you change yourself? What can you do differently? Or it's just that. Sometimes writing things down and seeing it on a piece of paper helps you be like, oh, you know, every Friday night I get sad. Every Saturday I go off the rails and make these horrible choices. And by Monday I feel guilty. And just sometimes just seeing that on paper helps you identify what's the triggers, what kinds of things are setting you off, where are you getting stuck, what kind of bad choices are you making, to have a goal. What do you want to do differently next time?
So I saw on Instagram that you put about trusting your body's reaction to stuff. So if somebody says something and it makes you feel a certain emotion, like maybe feeling that and think, why did I feel that way? Was it me? Was it them? What was said? And I think it's a fantastic thing. It goes back to awareness again, like talking about awareness. But how do we trust in our body's reaction? Like, how do we utilize that more? And also just more information on that.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to know what to do in a situation, or if somebody's telling you something and something feels a little bit off, our brains will second guess it. Like, no, this is good, or it's fine, or you should keep going anyway. And we talk about like a gut reaction or something like that, but then people will be like, no, that's just self-doubt creeping in. Well, one really easy way sometimes to know when you've gotten yourself in a bad situation or when something's not right is your body reacts. Your heart's gonna beat faster, your palms get sweaty, maybe your face feels like it's getting hot. You figure it out. Your body doesn't lie. Sometimes your brain will. It will try to convince you that you're doing fine when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, or it will tell you, no, this person's a good person. Your body knows the red flags and your body will react. So sometimes just tuning into that, being like, oh, why am I reacting like this? Why is my body doing this right now? It can give you some insight into what's going on around you.
So yeah, one thing I've not covered is 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do is your book. And just the title of that, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Do, is what you would expect in a title of a book, but this is the exclusion of that. So it's 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Yeah, please explain some more on that.
And as a therapist, I was told I should focus on what people are doing well and then tell them to keep doing more of that. So if somebody comes into my office and says, I wrote my gratitude journal twice this week, I should be like, wow, that's amazing. Let's keep doing that. But I thought at some point I'm doing them a disservice if I don't point out, okay, well, you wrote in your gratitude journal twice, but you spent the rest of the week binge eating and watching TV and not doing anything to make your life better. Writing in their gratitude journal doesn't necessarily outweigh all their bad habits. Because I thought, if I were to go see a physical trainer and they told me to run on a treadmill, great, I'd do that. But what if they didn't tell me to quit eating junk food? Well, then I'd be mad after a while because I didn't see any progress. So when it came to learning about mental strength and figuring out what makes some people stronger than others, I just realized there's so many bad habits. And when we have a bad habit, we get stuck in this hamster wheel and our good habits just don't really propel us forward. And the more that I started thinking about that and noticing that in my clients, the more I thought, if you just cut out this one habit, you can work smarter and not just harder. So say people who felt sorry for themselves, even if they wrote in a gratitude journal twice a week, but they spent the whole week feeling sorry for themselves, well, that didn't outweigh the fact that they were just having a pity party the rest of the time. But if you get rid of that, then writing in a gratitude journal works really well. So, and I'm a fan of saying, let's work smarter, not just harder. But I was seeing these people who were exhausted with good habits. They had self-help books piled to the ceiling and they knew all the things they should be doing, but they couldn't figure out why none of it was working. And sometimes it was just these little habits. Once they got rid of those things, they're like, oh yeah, all this other stuff in my life actually works. I just have to get rid of the stuff that was holding me back.
And there you go, a great piece of advice from Amy. Like I say, the first ever time myself and Amy spoke, I was actually talking about my own grief. And she helped me massively. She had no judgment on it. She had only open ears, and then it wasn't even suggestions. It's more about giving you that mirror. So if you go back and watch the first interview, which we'll link down below, that's a lot about talking to her, just asking her about like grief and going through therapy and all those kind of things. And that's what led me to get into therapy, because I'd spoken to Amy at the time. So her book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, is linked down below. And also through audible.com, who are sponsoring this video, there is a link down below. If you click that, you can get Amy's book for free. If you sign up through that link, you can get the book for free and listen to the book. And if you've already read the book, comment down below what was your favorite point, what resonated with you. I'd love to know. Also, go follow Amy on Instagram. You can see more free resources as well on there. Follow myself on Instagram if you're interested in that as well, and how we go and film these projects around the world, at Jordan Mulligan Brother. Hit comment, like, subscribe, consider becoming a channel member with the join button. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.